All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Gonna be touching on the top prop bets for today, mostly in the NBA on this Monday for both PrizePicks and Underdog. Let's go in and get into it. So first, I want to call it that we really just aren't getting that many prop bets in general in terms of like good prop bets today. That's just because we are waiting on a lot of injury news. I mean, it's just that time of the season where we are just going to be waiting on these updated injury reports. I mean, right now for Cleveland, we kind of have a good idea of what to do, and I'll touch on that. I think we are getting some edges there. Boston, we got to wait for them to get props for really the whole game. Miami, same thing with Jimmy Butler. If he's out, that changes some things. Same thing with Tobias Harris there for Philly. Looking at Chicago, you know, Caruso being out probably doesn't seem like much for a lot of people, but really that just would shift a little bit more usage to AO. And honestly, Torrey Craig benefits a decent amount with him off the court as well. So that'd be something we need to pay attention to. I think we're going to be looking at Anthony Simons tonight, but I'll touch on that in a second. Minnesota, we're still waiting on Rudy Gobert news and also Kyle Anderson. So that's a big thing. Lauri Markkanen was upgraded to questionable, but we got to see if he's going to play. From there, OG is going to be out for New York. And then Memphis is still very banged up. Atlanta getting a little bit healthier, but the Lakers are still very banged up as well. And so I do kind of want to take a peek at some of the prop bets that we are getting for that Indy versus Cleveland game. And to me, my initial thoughts were that Georges Niang would be someone we'd be going out of our way to target, because we have seen with those players out the court, Strus, Mobley, and Donovan Mitchell, he is one that on paper has benefited a decent amount. He's been playing a lot. He's been shooting the basketball pretty well as well. The only time he hasn't gotten this over was in a game in which he shot the ball poorly, which will happen, right? Like, he's not an elite player by any means, but you give him a little bit more usage, a little bit more opportunities, he is typically going to play a decent amount of minutes, and he's typically going to be able to get this over. And that's where it like really pains me that the day is telling us to bet the under. And I don't exactly get it, because like the per 36 numbers would suggest this line should be at like 23.5, and maybe it's rude in him only getting 28 minutes. That could be the case as well. But like, even if he gets 28 minutes, he should be able to get the over. And so that, I don't know, that to me seems like a line that we should want to be attacking. Now, if you guys just wanted to run the over points on, let's just say a sports book, and you're okay with that, by all means, go for it. Again, he is someone that should be shooting the basketball a decent amount. And even in this game where he went 0 for 6 from 3 guys, he still had 8 points. And so you just look at recently what he's been able to do with those players off the court. He has shown consistently that he's been able to get that over. So to me, that's one of the better bets that we're getting. I do hate that the under fantasy score is being favored by the sports books. The projection data kind of likes the over there, but it is a tighter line on paper. But I don't know, that one was one to me that I'm like, yeah, I'm perfectly fine going in on that one. And then the other kind of one that's popping up for fantasy score purposes is Miles Turner, which we know he's been someone that's been extremely hit or miss. And really with Miles Turner, it depends on how many minutes he gets. Against Brooklyn, that game was a little bit of a blowout, so he didn't get that many minutes. If he can get close to 30 minutes in this matchup against Cleveland, which isn't a good matchup, I do still think he has an okay chance to get the over here, but at the same time, not exactly a prop bet that I want to be chasing. So the other prop bets that we're getting that are decent are DeJounte Murray for under rebounds and assists. I think that one's going to get bumped by the time most of you guys get here. And same thing with Mike Conley for over 5.5 assists. I just think that one's going to get bumped by the time most of you guys are in here to be able to view this video. So it is tough to really say, yeah, go ahead and bet that. But obviously, if it's still there, go ahead and bet it. From there, guys, the other prop bets that we're getting for NBA on PrizePicks specifically just really are not that good. It's a tight slate. It is what it is, right? It's that point of the season. And I would argue that a lot of the sportsbook data could just be wrong, honestly. But like Simons here, I really don't mind the over for him going against Chicago, who's a little bit more banged up for Chicago. The usage rate is extremely high for him, especially if Jeremy Grant sits out. And he's had a lot of turnovers, don't get me wrong, but he's shooting the basketball a lot, you know, about 18 times per game with those players off the court, and just shooting a bunch of 3 balls as well. Doesn't really take much for him to get there. Now, I would argue lately he's just hasn't been as good. We need to get a couple of steals or a steal to negate some of those turnovers that he's been having. That has been holding him back fantasy score wise. But again, like if someone like Caruso sits, I just think that's going to be something that does help out someone like Simon. And we can see like the data barely likes the over here. So about a 50-50 split there. Same thing with Darius Garland, who in this matchup with all those players out as well, should be someone that you would expect would crush in this matchup against the Pacers. And now I know this spot against the Pacers hasn't been as good as it was like throughout the whole season. Don't get me wrong there, but like still, this is one on paper. He should be able to get the over. Like, and it wouldn't be surprised if he really crushes the over. And so we look at the game against Houston. Not exactly sure really what happened there with him. Just not a lot of points. Not exactly a close game as well. You know, only 33 minutes in that game. If we're playing and we're hoping that the game stays close. Same thing with Brooklyn here. Like these games that they've either won or have stayed close, he's at least getting 35-ish minutes or so. So we do need those extra 2 or so minutes. But I still think that given the matchup with Indiana, I feel like that should be a good prop bet. And again, the data doesn't exactly like that one, which it kind of sucks that it doesn't. And then we go ahead and look at something like Underdog as well today again, I don't like touching these blocks, these 3-pointers, these turnovers that are like 1.5 for the line. I just don't like targeting those ones. So let's just kind of ignore those. We've seen Cade Cunningham for under 7.5 assists. Yeah, if that one's there, by all means, let's go ahead and use that. Again, like I kind of assume that Underdog is going to correct these by the time most of you guys get here. But if they don't, that's a good prop bet. We are seeing Darius Garland for under rebounds and assists at 9.5 is a good one. Terry Rozier for under 5.5 assists as well. I would say if Jimmy Butler plays, that's a good prop bet still. If he sits, I would imagine that Rozier would get a little bit more usage. I just don't think we have a big enough sample size to say that for sure just yet. But we're getting a decent amount of okay prop bets on Underdog, just not a lot of great ones. And so that's kind of the issue that we have today on Underdog. So fair disclosure, guys, like I don't like today's prop bets. This is the only bet of the day I'll give out, and I'm just not expecting it to do well. So yesterday we were able to make about 1 unit of profit by just hitting a bunch of prop bets that we have middles on. And like yesterday was a tight board. Today, as it says right now, it is as well. Now that could change throughout the day, and I expect it to change throughout the day. But at the same time, by the time I put this video out, there's going to be about 6 hours left before lineup lock. I need to give you guys at least something, right? So these are my favorite ones today. Again, I don't like that the data is not exactly agreeing with me. And so that kind of sucks. And so I hope we get better prop bets that pop up as the day progresses, both on Underdog and PrizePicks. And I do expect that they will. But again, I just don't know when that's going to occur. So this is the prop bet for the day. If you guys don't want to use this one, this is like the second time in 2024 where like I'm saying, if you don't use it, I get it. But that is going to be all for today's video, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. Hopefully we can have another good day in a row. Fingers are crossed. I don't have that high of expectations. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, let's keep cashing.